It was just another Tuesday afternoon when Emily Hart walked into Greenway Market with her mom. The sky was blue, the sun was warm, and the parking lot was full of cars like any other day. For Emily, it was exciting. She loved going shopping with her mom, not because of the boring stuff like vegetables or laundry soap, but because she got to ride in the cart, pick out her favorite snacks, and sometimes even get a surprise treat at the checkout counter. Emily was 7 years old with curly brown hair and big, curious eyes that always seemed to be looking for something interesting. She was smart, funny, and full of questions. Her parents called her Little Explorer because she never stopped asking why and how. That day, she wore her favorite jeans with little stars on them and a red shirt that said, Future Scientist. It was a silly joke from her dad, who hoped one day she really would grow up to change the world. Inside the store, the air smelled like bread and oranges. People moved slowly through the aisles, picking out things they needed for dinner or snacks. Emily skipped beside her mother, holding onto the side of the grocery cart like it was a spaceship steering wheel. "Mommy, can we get chocolate milk?" she asked, tugging on her mom's sleeve. Her mom smiled. "Maybe, if you help me find everything on the list." Emily grinned and started bouncing on her toes. "I will. I'll help super fast." They walked past the fruits and veggies first, then the dairy section. Milk, cheese, eggs, all checked off. Then came the pantry items: rice, pasta, peanut butter. Emily helped by reaching up high to grab the peanut butter jar her mom couldn't reach. "You're such a good helper," her mom said, ruffling her hair. Emily beamed with pride. Then came the cereal aisle. That was Emily's favorite part. She loved reading the boxes, seeing what new flavors were out, and trying to guess which ones tasted best. Sometimes, if she was lucky, her mom let her pick a box for breakfast the next morning. As they reached aisle 5, Emily let go of the cart and took a few steps forward. "Look, Mommy, they have the marshmallow ones again." She turned around, expecting her mom to be right behind her. But she wasn't. Emily frowned and looked back toward the dairy aisle. "Mommy?" There was no answer. Emily waited a second, thinking maybe her mom had gone to grab something else. She stood there, still smiling, watching people walk past. Some smiled at her. Others didn't notice. A man in a baseball cap picked up a bag of chips. A woman with 2 kids in tow gave Emily a quick glance before moving on. Still no sign of her mom. Emily stepped back a little, now starting to feel a tiny bit nervous. "Mommy!" she called again, a little louder this time. No response. She walked back toward the end of the aisle, peeking around the corner. The cart was still there, parked near the canned soup shelves, but her mom was gone. Emily walked over and touched the cart handle, hoping her mom had just stepped away for a second. "She'll come back," she whispered to herself, but she didn't. Back near the front of the store, Emily's mom, Tina Hart, was standing near the freezer section, staring at her phone. She had gotten a call from her husband about dinner plans, and she was distracted, scrolling through messages while waiting for Emily to catch up. After a minute, she looked up. Emily wasn't there. At first, Tina thought maybe she was playing hide-and-seek, giggling behind a shelf somewhere. But as she walked down aisle 5, calling her daughter's name, panic began to rise. "Emily? Sweetie, where are you?" There was no answer. She checked the toy aisle, the snack aisle, even the restroom area. Nothing. No sign of her little girl. Tina ran back to the cart, hoping Emily had returned on her own. But the cart was still sitting there untouched. Now truly scared, Tina rushed to the customer service desk. "I think my daughter is missing," she said, voice shaking. The employee behind the desk blinked. "How long has she been gone?" "I don't know. Maybe 5 minutes? 10? She was just with me." The employee called security immediately. Within minutes, the store manager and a security guard were scanning the cameras, trying to retrace Emily's last movements. On the screen, they saw Emily walking down aisle 5, looking at cereal boxes. Then she turned around. Then, nothing. She disappeared from view. Security checked every exit. No one had seen a little girl leave alone. Employees were questioned. None had noticed anything unusual. The police arrived within 20 minutes. Detectives asked Tina a series of questions. What was Emily wearing? Did she have any allergies? Was there anyone who might want to hurt her? Tina could barely speak through her tears. By evening, the entire town knew. Flyers went up. News helicopters hovered above the store. Social media exploded with posts asking for help. Everyone wanted to know, where was Emily? Over the next few days, hundreds of volunteers joined the search. Police dogs sniffed through parks, woods, and nearby neighborhoods. Divers checked the river. Helicopters scanned rooftops. Nothing. Emily was gone. Neighbors came forward with possible sightings. A child on a bike, a girl with curly hair, but none led anywhere real. One man claimed he saw a black van parked behind the store that night, engine running. Another remembered hearing a child cry near the dumpster. But without proof, these stories faded into background noise. Detectives tried to piece together what happened using the security footage. They watched the video over and over. There she was, happy, smiling, looking at cereal, then gone. Just like that. No struggle, no screams, no signs of a fight. It was like she vanished into thin air. Weeks passed, then months, then years. The case stayed open, but leads dried up. Detectives rotated off the team. The news stopped reporting. Life moved on. Except for Tina. Every year on Emily's birthday, she put fresh flowers at the edge of aisle 5 in Greenway Market. Every night she stared at the same security footage, hoping to see something she missed. And every morning, she whispered the same question. Where did you go? 5 years later, a gas station clerk in another state saw a familiar face on a missing persons poster. He thought he'd seen her once before, in the background of a blurry CCTV video, from the night Emily disappeared. Time passed like pages in a calendar. Slow when you're waiting, fast when you're living. 5 long years had gone by since Emily Hart walked into Greenway Market and never walked out. The world kept turning, but for her family it felt like everything had stopped on that one day. Her parents, Tina and Mark Hart, looked older now. They didn't smile much anymore. Their house used to be full of laughter, toys, and bedtime stories. Now it was quiet. Too quiet. Emily's little brother, Noah, was 12 now. He remembered his sister clearly, her curly hair, her silly jokes, how she always shared her dessert, even when she wasn't supposed to. But he also remembered the silence after she was gone, the way his mom cried at night, and how his dad started working all the time just to stay busy. Noah never forgot Emily. He refused to believe she was gone forever. Every birthday, every Christmas, he left a present under the tree for her. Every night before bed, he whispered, "I hope you're okay." And every year he begged his parents to talk about her. "Tell me what she said that day," he would ask. "She wanted chocolate milk," Tina would say softly, eyes filled with tears. A forgotten face on a poster. It was a normal Thursday afternoon in another town, far away from where Emily had disappeared. A gas station clerk named Jeremy Lopez was cleaning the counter when he saw something strange. There was a missing persons poster taped to the window. It showed a smiling girl with big brown eyes and curly hair. Underneath, it read, "Missing since 2018. Emily Hart, age 7. If you see her, call 1-800-MISSING." Jeremy blinked. He stared at the face again. Something about her looked familiar. He couldn't place it at first. Maybe it was the hair, or maybe it was the eyes. But something clicked inside his brain. Then he remembered. 5 years ago, late at night, He had been working the midnight shift at a different gas station, the one near the highway exit off Route 42. That night, he had seen a girl who looked just like Emily. Not sure if it meant anything, Jeremy went to the back room and pulled up some old CCTV footage he had saved on a backup drive. It was grainy, black and white, and shaky, but there she was. A young girl, around 7 or 8, standing beside a man in a dark van. She looked tired. Her clothes were wrinkled. Her head hung low as if she was afraid. The date stamp on the video matched the night Emily vanished. Jeremy's hands shook as he rewound the clip. This could be important. He called the number on the poster. "I think I saw her," he told the detective who answered. Footage from the past. Back in Emily's hometown, Detective Linda Ruiz got the call. She had taken over the case a few years ago when the original detectives retired. Most people thought it was a cold case, a mystery with no answers. But Ruiz hadn't given up. She listened carefully to Jeremy's story, then drove straight to the gas station to collect the footage. When she watched the video for the first time, her heart raced. It was possible. This was Emily. Ruiz sent the footage to a forensic team. Experts cleaned it up, enhanced the image, and zoomed in on the girl's face. After hours of analysis, they gave their answer. This is likely Emily Hart. For the first time in 5 years, there was proof she had been seen after she disappeared. Suddenly, the case was alive again. New clues, new hope. Detective Ruiz worked non-stop. She reviewed old notes, interviewed witnesses again, and checked every detail from the night Emily vanished. The biggest clue came from the man in the van. The video wasn't clear enough to see his face, but the vehicle was visible. It was an older model, a 1998 Ford E-Series van, black in color. They ran the license plate through every database they had. Nothing came up. But then they found something else. A mechanic named Gregory Vance had owned a van like that. He lived alone, didn't have any kids, and rarely talked to anyone. Neighbors described him as quiet and strange. Some said they never saw him with children. Others said they never saw him at all. More strangely, Gregory had disappeared around the same time Emily went missing. His house was empty. His phone was disconnected. His car was gone. It was like he vanished too. Detectives searched public records and found something else disturbing. Gregory had once tried to adopt a child, but the request was denied due to concerns about his mental health. Now, with the new footage and his connection to the van, he became the prime suspect. Digging into the past. Detective Ruiz and her team went to Gregory's last known address, a small rundown house on the edge of town. Inside, it was eerily clean, like someone had packed in a hurry. They found a few things that raised questions: a child's red sneaker hidden under the bed, a backpack with the name Emily written on it in marker, drawings of a little girl playing with animals, sitting by trees, and looking out a window. They also found a notebook with strange entries. One page read, "She misses her brother. She cries sometimes. I tell her stories so she sleeps better." Another wrote, "She asked if I was her new daddy. I said yes." Chills ran down Ruiz's spine. This was more than just a clue. This was proof Emily had been with Gregory. But where was she now? Hope begins to grow. Back at home, Tina and Mark sat across from Detective Ruiz, holding hands tightly. She showed them the footage. Tina covered her mouth with both hands, trying not to cry. "That's her," she whispered. "That's our Emily." Mark nodded slowly, eyes full of disbelief and pain. Then Ruiz showed them the drawings and the notebook. "We believe she was with this man," she said gently. "We don't know where she is now, but we do know she was alive after she disappeared. For The first time in 5 years, the Harts felt something they hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Even though they still didn't have answers, they knew Emily hadn't just vanished. She had been taken. And if she had survived for 5 years, maybe, just maybe, she was still out there. Noah refuses to give up. That night, Noah sat on his bed, staring at a photo of him and Emily. He was 4, she was 7. They were both wearing Halloween costumes. He was a dinosaur, she was a fairy. He held the picture close to his chest. "I'm going to find you," he whispered. "I promise." The next morning, he did something brave. He went to school and stood in front of his class. "My sister was taken 5 years ago," he said, voice shaking. "Her name is Emily Hart. If you ever hear her name or see her face, please tell someone. Please help me bring her home." Everyone in the room was silent. Then one by one they started clapping. From that day forward, Noah became a voice for missing children. He spoke at community events, handed out flyers, and stayed up late watching videos and reading files about his sister. He wouldn't stop until he found her. 5 years had passed, but the search was just beginning. And somewhere, far away, a teenage girl sat in a dark room drawing pictures of trees, trains, and a cereal aisle she couldn't remember. Yet somehow, she knew it mattered. Very soon, the world would come knocking. After finding the red sneaker, the backpack, and the strange notebook filled with disturbing entries, Detective Linda Ruiz knew they were finally getting closer to the truth about Emily Hart. She gathered her team at the police station early one morning. The room was quiet except for the sound of coffee cups clinking and pens scratching on paper. "This is our biggest break yet," Ruiz said, placing the notebook on the table. "We know now that Emily was alive after she disappeared. We also know she was with this man, Gregory Vance." Gregory Vance had lived alone in a small house near the edge of town. He didn't have any children, no known relatives, and only a few neighbors who barely remembered seeing him. "He was like a ghost," one neighbor told the detective. "I'd see him sometimes pulling weeds or cleaning his van, but he never talked to anyone." The van, that black 1998 Ford E-Series van, became the focus of the investigation. Detective Ruiz ordered a full search of all records connected to the vehicle. They found out it had been registered under Gregory's name until the day Emily went missing. And then it vanished too. "We need to find that van," Ruiz said firmly. A man who disappeared. Gregory Vance hadn't just left town. Quietly, he had erased himself from the world. His bank accounts were empty. His phone was disconnected. Even his doctor's office had no record of him visiting since before Emily went missing. It was like he had planned to disappear. Ruiz and her team started digging deeper into his past. What they found was troubling. Years ago, Gregory had tried to adopt a child through foster care. The request was denied because social workers believed he wasn't emotionally stable enough to raise a child on his own. He had also visited several therapists over the years, struggling with loneliness, depression, and what some reports called attachment issues. But nothing in his files showed he had ever hurt anyone. Still, the evidence was clear. Emily had been seen with him. He owned the van in the gas station footage. He disappeared the same night she did, and now, 5 years later, he was gone again. The search begins. Detective Ruiz decided to go public. She held a press conference outside the police station, standing beside Emily's parents, Tina and Mark Hart. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. "We believe Gregory Vance is connected to the disappearance of Emily Hart," Ruiz announced. "If you have any information about where he might be, or if you saw him in the years after 2018, please come forward." Tina stood next to her, holding a photo of Emily. Her voice was shaky but strong. "My daughter has been missing for 5 years," she said. "We don't know where she is, but we know she was taken. If you know anything, About where she could be. Help us bring her home. Mark stood silently behind her, holding Noah's hand. Noah looked straight into the camera. I'm not giving up on my sister, he whispered. New leads come in. Within hours, tips started pouring in. Someone in another state said they remembered seeing a van like that parked outside an old farm. Another person thought they saw Gregory working at a car shop under a different name. One call stood out. It came from a woman named Deborah Lang, who worked at a storage facility outside the city. I rent space to a man who used to pay cash every month, she told the detective. He always wore sunglasses and kept to himself. He stopped coming around 2 years ago. Ruiz and her team rushed to the facility. When they opened the unit, their breath caught. Inside were more drawings, dozens of them, all drawn by a child. Trees, trains, cereal boxes, and stick figures playing together. There was also a small pink blanket, a doll missing one eye, and a bookshelf filled with children's books. On the wall, someone had drawn with marker, "I miss my brother, detective." Ruiz took photos. Forensic experts collected DNA samples. Within days, they confirmed what they hoped and feared. This was Emily's handwriting. She had been here, at least for a while. But where was she now? The mystery deepens. More questions than answers followed. If Emily had been with Gregory for years, why had he moved her? Where had he taken her? And most importantly, was she still alive? Detectives turned their attention to the last known location of the van. They tracked down a farmer who remembered seeing it parked near his barn one summer night. I heard a child crying, the farmer said. Thought maybe it was the wind at first, but then I saw the van leave in a hurry. He described the driver as a tall man with dark hair and a baseball cap. That could be Gregory, Ruiz said. They searched the area around the barn. Nothing was found. No footprints, no clues. Just silence. Then, weeks later, came the biggest lead yet. A tip came in from someone who claimed to have seen Gregory driving the van near a small town more than 300 miles away, just 2 years ago. Detective Ruiz and her team packed up and headed out. This time, they weren't chasing shadows. They were following a trail. Emily's brother won't stop searching. Back home, Noah Hart sat at his desk, surrounded by maps, newspaper clippings, and printed photos. He had started his own investigation. Every evening after school, he would study everything he could find about his sister's case. He watched the gas station video over and over. He read the notebook pages Detective Ruiz let him see. He even made a website called findemily.org, where people could share tips, view updates, and learn how to spot signs of missing children. Dozens of families reached out to thank him. You're helping others too, one mom told him during a school event. Noah smiled, but inside, he was still searching for his sister. One night, he asked his mom a question. What if she doesn't remember us? He whispered. Tina pulled him close. She will, she said. Even if she forgets your face, she'll remember your love. A tragic end to one story. As the search continued, another mystery began to unfold. Detective Ruiz received a call from another state. A man matching Gregory Vance's description had died in a car crash 2 years earlier. The crash happened late at night on a lonely highway. The driver was thrown from the vehicle. There was no ID on him, but dental records matched. It was Gregory. He was dead. When the news broke, the Harts were heartbroken. Not because they felt justice had been served, but because now, the only person who knew where Emily was gone forever. Ruiz tried to stay hopeful. If he died 2 years ago, she said, then Emily must have been moved before that. Someone else must have helped him, or she escaped. They needed to find out who. So the search continued. Only, now it wasn't just about finding Gregory, It was about finding Emily and bringing her home. Detective Linda Ruiz stood outside a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. It was early morning, and the sky was still dark with just a hint of pink on the horizon. Birds chirped nervously in the trees. A cold wind blew through the fields. She wasn't alone. Beside her were two other detectives, a forensic team, and a group of police officers ready to search the property. They had followed every clue they could find. Tips from strangers, old rental records, even maps drawn by people who barely remembered what they saw. And now, they believed they had found something important. This farmhouse belonged to Gregory, Vance's cousin, a man named Eddie Langford. Eddie had lived there for years and never raised any suspicion. He was quiet, kept to himself, and rarely talked to neighbors. But one neighbor did remember something strange. "I saw Gregory here once," the neighbor told police. "A few years ago. He came in a black van, stayed for maybe an hour, then left." That was enough to get a search warrant. Digging into secrets. As the sun rose higher, the team began searching the house. Every drawer, every closet, every corner was checked, but nothing unusual was found inside. Then Detective Ruiz noticed something odd near the back of the property. There was a small wooden barn, old and falling apart. Its door creaked when the wind hit it. Vines grew up the sides like it hadn't been touched in years. She walked over and knocked on the floor with her foot. It sounded hollow. "Let's check under this," she said. With tools in hand, the team pried open a section of the barn floor. Dust flew into the air. Cobwebs covered the corners. And then they saw it. A hidden trapdoor. Underneath was a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. Ruiz turned on her flashlight and slowly climbed down. What she saw made her heart stop. The hidden room. The room was small, about the size of a bedroom. The walls were lined with insulation, thick and soundproof. There was a tiny bed in the corner, a small table and a chair. On the shelves were books, coloring pages, snacks, and water bottles. Every detail showed that someone had lived here. Not just for a day, but for a long time. Detective Ruiz stepped carefully around the room, scanning everything. Her flashlight beam landed on the wall. Written in marker, in childish handwriting, were the words, "I miss my brother." Her breath caught. This was real. Emily had been here. She pulled out her phone and called her team. "We need to bring the forensics team in," she whispered. "Now." Clues from the past. Within hours, experts arrived. They collected DNA samples, dusted for fingerprints, and took photos of everything. In the drawers, they found more drawings, stick figures playing, a girl waving at a window, a train going past a tree. One drawing showed a little boy holding a dinosaur toy. Noah. On the table was a notebook filled with notes written in adult handwriting. Some entries read, "She asked if we can go to the park today. I said not yet. She cried last night. Said she wanted her mom. She keeps asking about cereal. I don't know why." Ruiz read each page carefully. Her hands shook. "She was afraid," she whispered. "But she stayed strong." The final entry in the notebook was dated 2 years ago. "He says he's taking me somewhere else soon. I hope I see my brother again." Then nothing. Silence. Answers and new questions. Back at the station, Ruiz sat across from Tina and Mark Hart. Tina clutched a photo of Emily to her chest. Mark looked pale, eyes red from crying. "This is where she was," Ruiz said gently, showing them photos of the hidden room. "We found her drawings, her clothes, her handwriting." Tina started crying softly. "She was alive," she whispered. "All this time." "Yes," Ruiz said. But we believe Gregory moved her before he died. Mark wiped his eyes. But where? He asked. Where did he take her? Ruiz didn't have an answer. Forensic results confirmed Emily's DNA was in the room. So was Gregory's. But there was no sign of another person helping him, until one more discovery changed everything. The van that knew too much. While searching the barn, officers found something else. A rusted lockbox buried under a pile of hay. Inside was a map. It was covered in markings, circles around towns, lines connecting highways, and one big red X near a town 3 states away. Next to it, written in pencil, were the words, "Final Stop." Ruiz stared at the map. Was this where Gregory was headed, or had he already taken Emily there? She called in a helicopter team and sent officers to the location marked on the map. But days of searching revealed nothing. Just empty roads and silence. Gregory's final days. Meanwhile, investigators continued looking into Gregory Vance's life. They discovered he had died in a car crash 2 years earlier. His body had been found on a lonely stretch of highway. No other cars were involved. The crash had happened late at night. Witnesses said the van swerved off the road and rolled into a ditch. When officers examined the wreckage, they found something shocking. Inside the back of the van was a blanket, a pillow, and a child's shoe. Emily's shoe. It matched the one found in Gregory's house 5 years ago. So now they knew Emily had been with Gregory until the end. But what happened to her after the crash? Otubrum. A brother's promise. Back home, Noah Hart sat at his desk, staring at the latest news report. His parents had told him about the hidden room, the drawings, and the van crash. He didn't cry. Instead, he opened his laptop and typed something into a blog post on his website. "My sister is still out there," he wrote. "She survived for years. She drew pictures. She wrote messages. She never gave up. And neither will I." He printed out the article and taped it to his wall. Then he opened a notebook and started writing. Page after page filled with questions, theories, and memories. He listed everything he remembered about Emily. Her favorite songs, her favorite foods, the way she used to laugh when he made silly faces. "If I ever see her again," he whispered, "I'll know her by the way she smiles." Faturuan The town reacts. News of the discovery spread quickly. Local schools held candlelight vigils for Emily. People hung yellow ribbons on their porches. A local artist painted a mural of her standing in front of aisle 5, smiling, at Greenway. Market, the store where she disappeared, customers brought flowers and left cards. One card read, "You're not forgotten. We're all hoping you come home." Another said, "If you're reading this, please call your family. They love you." Everyone hoped that somehow, somewhere, Emily would see those messages and find her way back. Hope lives on. Though the hidden room gave answers, it also brought pain. Emily had been trapped for years. She had drawn pictures of freedom. She had waited for someone to find her. And now the only thing left to do was keep looking. Detective Ruiz promised herself she wouldn't give up. Tina and Mark vowed to stay strong, and Noah, he refused to stop believing, because somewhere out there, Emily might still be waiting to come home. It was a cold morning when it happened. A teenage girl walked into a small police station in a town far away from everything she once knew. Her hair was longer now, tied back in a messy ponytail. Her clothes were clean but simple. Jeans and a hoodie that didn't quite fit right. She looked around nervously, clutching a piece of paper like it was the only thing keeping her standing. "Hi," she said quietly to the officer behind the desk. "I think I might be someone you're looking for." The officer blinked. "Can I help you?" The girl nodded, slowly. "I don't remember much, but I remember drawing pictures of trees and hearing trains at night, and I remember cereal boxes." The officer's eyes widened. He took one look at the missing persons poster still hanging on the wall behind him. There she was, smiling, curly hair, big brown eyes. Emily Hart, missing since 2018. He picked up the phone and called Detective Linda Ruiz. "I think we found her." The call that changed everything. Back in Emily's hometown, Tina Hart was making breakfast when her phone rang. She almost didn't answer. It had been years since anyone called with real news, but something made her pick it up. "Tina?" It was Detective Ruiz. Her voice was shaking. "We found her." Silence. Then a sound no mother should ever have to make. A cry so deep and full of pain and joy that it cracked the air. Mark ran into the room, dropping his coffee mug on the floor. "What? What is it?" Tina turned to him, tears streaming down her face. "She's alive," she whispered. Coming home. Within hours, Tina, Mark, and Noah were on a plane to meet Emily. Noah sat by the window, gripping the armrest so hard his knuckles turned white. He hadn't spoken much since they got the call. All he could think about was the last time he saw his sister. She was 7. Now she was 17. Would she even recognize him? Would she remember? Their home. Would she still be Emily? When they arrived at the police station, they waited in a small room. Every second felt like an hour. Then the door opened, and there she was. Emily stood in the doorway looking unsure, like she wasn't sure if this was real. Then she saw them, her parents, her brother. Her eyes filled with tears, and then she ran, straight, into their arms. They held her so tight, as if letting go would mean losing her again. Noah stood frozen for a moment, staring at her face. Then he hugged her too. "I never stopped looking for you," he whispered. "I know," Emily said softly. "I remember. Derwatui." Pieces of a broken puzzle. Emily didn't remember everything. Some parts of her life with Gregory Vance were clear. The hidden room beneath the barn, the drawings she used to make, the stories he told her to help her sleep. Other parts were blurry: how she escaped, who helped her, or why she ended up walking into that police station. She remembered being moved to a new place after the van crash. Gregory had died, and someone else had taken care of her for a while. A woman who gave her food and let her watch TV, but never let her leave the house. Eventually the woman disappeared too. One day Emily just left. She started walking. She hitchhiked, slept in shelters, worked odd jobs for food. And somehow, through all the fear and confusion, she remembered one thing. She had a brother. She remembered his name. Noah. That's what brought her to the police station. That's what brought her home. Learning to live again. Adjusting to life outside captivity wasn't easy. At first, Emily stayed quiet most of the time. She flinched when someone touched her unexpectedly. She woke up screaming from nightmares. She had lived half her life in hiding. Now she had to learn how to live in the open. She went to therapy. Slowly, she began talking more. She asked questions about her old life, what school was like, what holidays were like, what her favorite color used to be. "It was pink," Noah told her. "You loved anything pink." She smiled. She missed cereal aisles. She missed chocolate milk. She missed bedtime stories. But most of all, she missed her family. A voice for the lost. Months passed. Emily grew stronger. She started speaking, publicly about her experience. Not because she wanted attention, but because she wanted to help others. She visited schools. She met with other missing children. She talked about hope. "I was gone for a long time," she told a crowd at a community center one day. "But I never forgot who I was. I never gave up. And I want every child who's lost to know this. You are not forgotten. Someone is always looking for you." After her speech, a little boy came up to her. He handed her a drawing. It showed a girl standing in front of a grocery store holding hands with her brother. Emily looked at the boy and smiled. "You're a really good artist," she said. The boy grinned. "My name's Noah, too," he said proudly. Emily laughed, a soft, warm laugh that made everyone in the room smile. "That's a great name," she said. Time heals. Years passed. Emily finished high school. She went to college. She wrote a book about her journey, not just about being taken, but about coming home, rebuilding trust, and learning to love life again. She stayed close to her family. Noah became a counselor for missing children. Tina and Mark spent more time together, enjoying the peace they had waited so long for. Every year, on the anniversary of the day she vanished, Emily returned to Greenway Market. She stood in aisle 5. She looked at the cereal boxes, and she remembered, not just the fear, but the strength, because she had come back. A final note. On the last page of her book, Emily wrote something simple but powerful. "I was lost, but I was never gone. And if you're reading this, wherever you are, keep hoping, keep fighting, because someone out there is still looking for you."